Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story in which our OP defeated his neighbors with their own weapons. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Weekend festival every week? Sure. I have a history of holding grudges even over really small things, such as deliberately not restocking the K-cup holder after taking the last one when the person who uses it the most never does, freezing windshield wipers in winter when people park in my paid parking stall, or going to Walmart every weekend for a year, picking up an item, handing it to the door greeter to hold while I get my wallet and not returning after she mocked my autistic nephew. No matter how big or how small, I'll hold on to it. Now let's rewind to about 2009. I'm working nights at Blockbuster and had been doing so for years. I worked every weekend, leaving the store at around 12:30 and usually making it to bed around 2 in the morning so I could sleep in and not be drained for my next night shift. I lived in a really bad apartment, but the price was cheap and that's what I needed. The downfall was there was zero management on property, and the other downfall was my roommates and I were the only English-speaking people in the complex. For a few months, everything was fine, no issues at all. Then the new batch of renters showed up. Every weekend at 6 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday, a truck would park right outside my door and blast mariachi music, and 6 or 7 apartments would eject their occupants to celebrate around the truck. Every weekend. Okay, no problem. They don't speak English. It must be weird living in a new country. I can handle them adjusting for a bit. 2 months later, and no, it hasn't stopped. And I'm starting to look for places to nap at Blockbuster because the company was already dying at this point, but I can't risk losing the job. Finally, I ask if anyone speaks English. Knock on each door. The ones that answer can't understand English. So I look up online and find a rough translation that their music is too loud for so early, and I wait till the weekend. Sure enough, 6 in the morning and here comes the music. I wander out half asleep and talk to the truck owner with the phrase. He responds in English that I'm not management and I can't tell him what to do. Okay, I'm not going to negotiate. I'm done. I'm beyond done. I could be a jerk and just call the cops, but I'm around 3 months into this and I'm not just going to let someone get even for me. So if I'm going to be a jerk, it's going to be just me. Just me and all of the old sound equipment Blockbuster has. I take every CD player and speaker setup I can find and I drive back and forth to my apartment, hauling them in my tiny beat-up car. I go through my parents' attic and find every stereo I can find. My car has a decent sound system and all of them have remotes except for some of the really old ones with blown speakers. My weekend is essentially Monday and Tuesday, so Monday at midnight I place the stereos all over the complex and press play. It's a cacophony of sounds because I just threw whatever CDs I had in the systems. Then peace and quiet for a half hour and press play. Half an hour, then press play all the way till 5 a.m. I was never woken up by mariachi music again. And shortly after that, the truck whose driver I assumed was the ringleader of those early morning festivals was gone. I did get a notice from the landlord about local sound ordinances, but nothing else, so I felt it was worth it. Edit. To clarify, the Walmart greeter made fun of my autistic nephew while I worked there, so part of it was while I still worked there. I left on good terms, and I think they knew I'd complain if they didn't smile and go along. I stopped when I moved to go to college the first time. The notice. I got it from the landlord, and it was a general note put on every door saying that due to recent noise complaints, local ordinances state no excessive noise before 7 a.m. I was pretty sure it was directed at me, but since it was a rundown place and Captain Festival was also noisy, it didn't bother me. I think Good Morning from Singing in the Rain would have been the right song to use. And our second story. If you don't like it, leave. Don't mind if I do. I want to preface this by saying that this is my dad's story. My dad has been a mechanic for almost 30 years. We immigrated to the U.S. 10 years ago, but in my home country, he was both a mechanic and a workshop manager since he studied engineering in college. When we moved to the U.S., he chose to move all of us, which meant he had to work very long hours, 10 to 13 hours, 6 to 7 days a week, as a mechanic to make ends meet. He could have maybe gone back to school and gotten a better job, but he wanted all of us to be together. Anyway, my dad had been at his job, I won't name which one, but for a big shot car company as a mechanic for years. He had another job before this, but had to relocate after we moved into an actual house. Yay! He was really their star employee. He overworked himself to the point of fainting at work, and all he did was ask his coworker to bring him water and continued working. He never took lunch breaks, he'd eat food quickly in 10 minutes and would go back to finishing tickets. None of this is healthy, and I'm not glorifying it at all. I wish he didn't have to do all that to make ends meet. After almost 7 years at the company and never having gotten a raise, my dad never asked, he didn't even know he was allowed to, him working himself essentially to death and doing the work of 3 people as one person, he was told he'd get $18 an hour. He was making $15 an hour. This would have been huge for our family, and we would have gotten to refinance the house and lower our mortgage. He worked overtime a lot, so he was excited to make more. Then a mistake happened. Not even my dad's fault. Another worker forgot to put oil in the engine before letting the customer drive off. Obviously, the car broke down, and it fell back on the company to reimburse the customer. They decided they would take it out of the workers' paychecks because everyone should have been paying attention. They told my dad they were canceling his bonus. He finally decided to stand up for himself and said, "That's not fair." They said if he wishes to, instead, he could pay for the portion of the engine's cost himself if he wants to keep the bonus. He declined, which was met with, "Just leave if you don't like it." They assumed that would be an empty threat because not only was this during the height of lockdown, but obviously no man working those grueling hours would be able to afford to just leave. But that's exactly what he did. He simply said, "Okay," and walked out. They tried saying something, but he told me he paid them no mind and drove to the nearest gas station. He then called his old company's manager. This manager was very kind to him. I remember when I was younger, I even went to his kid's birthday party, and that was the first birthday party I'd ever gone to. Apparently, his old manager, who'd moved to California himself, then came back to our home state earlier that year, had offered my dad a job when he moved back. This was at another big-name car company, but I won't name which one. My dad had initially told him that he couldn't just leave his workplace since he'd been there for years and felt responsible for the company. I honestly don't understand this company loyalty stuff, especially if they pay you like crap. Anyway, he explained the situation and asked if the position was still available. My dad got started at his new job at $20 an hour with a raise based on his performance and a sign-on bonus. Literally just had to do a drug test, no interview, no nothing, and got hired on the spot. After 3 months, he got bumped to $25 an hour. I always worried about him overworking, but he kept reassuring me that it's a lot less on him even if he still works 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. He tells me a lot of times he's making house calls so he gets to drive on company time, which relaxes him, and that the workload is a lot less for a lot more. I hope he's telling the truth for his own sake. But he does sound happier. They've even let him borrow the company's cars during winter while the roads are icy because my dad has this beat-up 1999 Toyota Camry that creaks and rumbles while running, and his manager said he doesn't want my dad risking his safety to drive to work. He told me today that they're making him do managerial duties now too. It's what he used to do before we moved to the U.S., so it's really easy for him. And that as compensation, they're giving him 25% more than what he was getting before. I'm so happy for him and very proud of him. I'm glad he's not overworking himself and left behind that crappy company. They've tried reaching out to him to match what the new job was giving him 4 times, but he's declined every time. They even said they'd give him a sign-on bonus. Obviously, he's declined. If you really are going to threaten the most hardworking employee with the "if you don't like it, leave it," then you should be ready to accept the consequences. Good for him. Sounds like he personified the phrase, "leave him in your rearview mirror." And our next story. You've ruined our entire day. I used to manage a bead store where I was generally the only employee working. We did jewelry repairs, and I was actually pretty backed up that day, but obviously willing to assist anyone that needed my help. Enter humongous B-word and her preteen daughter, who remained silent the entire time. "Hi, welcome to Bead Store. What are we shopping for today?" "We want to make necklaces." "Okay, perfect. Here are the boards where you can lay out your beads, and when you have everything picked out, I'll help you string and clasp it." Blank stare. Were you looking for natural stone, metal, wood, or glass beads? I don't know. Okay, well, our stone and metal beads are in this half of the store. Our glass and wood beads are on the opposite wall. Do you have a general color scheme you're going for? I don't know. Okay, well, what colors do you generally wear? And I'll help you pick out something to match. I don't know. We're leaving. You've ruined our entire day. Humongous B-word proceeds to stomp across the street with her now mortified daughter, turn around, pull out her cell phone to make a call. Our counter is directly opposite of a huge window, so she's staring directly at me for several minutes when my phone rings. Thank you for calling Bead Store. This is me. How may I help you? It's my boss. Hi, this is boss. I have a lady on the other line who says you've ruined her entire day. I explain the situation. My boss says, okay, well, she wants me to fire you, but obviously I'm not going to do that. Me. Okay, I appreciate that. I smile and wave at humongous B-word through the window as she triumphantly stomps off. And our last story. In pursuit of dirty money. Back in the 90s, the chairman of the department where I worked at a prestigious hospital was extremely well respected. Capping off the end of an auspicious academic and medical career, recognized worldwide as a leader in his specialty. He also had the habit of making himself co-author on papers by junior staff in his department, even when his involvement was tangential at the best. One particular paper studied the efficacy of a drug to treat a condition experienced by a significant percentage of the population, for which no satisfactory treatment existed at the time. It found significant improvement of the condition in over 80% of patients. The study received credence from the medical community on the strength of the chairman's co-authorship. The principal investigator, a young surgeon in the specialty, formed a company to develop and market the drug. He, the chairman, and one other doctor were the principal stockholders and made several million each in the IPO. I bought $1,000 of stock myself, unfortunately. First trial for FDA approval fails to show any efficacy of the drug over a saline solution. Second trial begins, but early returns also show no results. There's an investigation. Turns out the young surgeon cherry-picked only the positive results for the initial paper. He's since moved out of state with his millions, but police pursue him there and raid his house. They find boxes of medical records for patients from the study in his garage. Anyone who's dealt with medical records, especially before electronic medical charting, knows it's an extreme no-no to remove the record from hospital property. He never admitted his guilt in court and insisted that he was doing the right thing. The chairman, now emeritus, was unaware of any of this because he basically proofread the paper but was not otherwise involved. He loses credibility, his reputation is forever tarnished, the company goes bankrupt, and he loses millions. He became an alcoholic and his wife kicked him out. And I lost $1,000. Should have listened to my dad, who declined this amazing investment opportunity I brought him after he read the prospectus. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.